What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Derek Larger, Cody Felger joining me as always. And today he is going to listen to my mock draft 2.0. I put this out, my mock draft 1.0, about a little over a week ago. So I figured I would do it another time, kind of adjust some things. You guys talked about how you didn't really want to see any of the trades go down in this one. So this one's just going to be straight across the board, picking at the spots that the Colts are at. Cody, do you have any final words before I take you down this excellent journey?
I already hate it. I already hate your mock draft. I hadn't even seen it, but it's trash. Why are you doing a podcast? I'm smarter than you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
And I'm going to get a shirt that says Bargain Ben Ballard because I saw somebody have that. And I'm just going to tick off everybody.
Oh, my gosh.
That's all I got to say. No, for real, though, I'm excited, man. I'm always excited around this time of year. You know, we have so much fun around the draft. Like, it's like a holiday, man. It really is.
It is.
Like,
it's fun to watch the new guys come in.
And the truth is, we actually get to see new players come to Indianapolis. We don't have to worry about it. Like, we've only seen 3 new guys to Indianapolis so far this offseason. So we get a little bit more than that in the draft. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I kind of wish I was a Dolphins podcaster or a Jacksonville podcaster at this point, because at least then I have something to talk about when it comes to the moves.
No, you don't want to be a Jacksonville podcaster.
Okay, yeah,
we'll talk about
throwing
a new head coach every year.
Throwing
I guess
shots
from
at
a content standpoint, you're always talking about new head coach. You're always going to get a lot of views on that. You're talking about new players about every year because they always go in on free agency every couple of years. So, I mean, yeah, from a content standpoint, absolutely.
UCF Jaguar, tag us and let us know if that's true.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go ahead and hop into here. With the 42nd pick, I have the Colts selecting George Pickens, wide receiver out of Georgia. The reason I had George Pickens here is because I do not believe that Christian Watson is going to be available at 42. I think you and I talked about it in a video before we did this one, that I think Christian Watson, just with the potential and just the athletic ability that he has shown throughout this whole process, this whole draft process, I think is going to catapult Watson up ahead of everyone. And Dotson, I think, is going to get picked prior to the first 40 picks as well. There's going to be a lot of receivers taken in the first 50 picks of this draft. And I think that might drop Pickens just a little bit, because of Pickens' only one true year of experience with playing in college football. But again, when you look at George Pickens, who is 6'3", 200 pounds, a guy that is massive in his build, you have the worries with the injury, but you don't think that it's going to be something that's going to impact him much going forward. I think that he is a tough guy. I think he's strong. I think he's a guy that plays the mold the way that Ballard really likes it. And I think that is the receiver that the Colts will take a chance on at 42, because I think he's going to be the best player available at that spot at that time.
So you're going receiver here in 42. So you really believe that 42 pick is probably going to be one, which makes sense. I mean, I guess I could make the argument that there's still a few other guys that could be available, down the stretch in that third round. But, he's a good option here, I think, in that second round. I mean, you just got to get somebody alongside Michael Pittman, I think. And I was hoping you weren't going to say Dotson was gone, because I would have preferred him probably over Pickens, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, you can't argue with the size. I mean, he's a perfect, him and Pittman. I mean, you give Matt Ryan 2 6'3", 6'4" weapons. Whew, man, he just not going to have to, he's going to be able to throw it up a lot, you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I like that from that standpoint, just giving Matt Ryan more weapons. I like you talked about with the injury, that is a little bit of a concern for me, because, he had the torn ACL. I mean, is that an issue going forward? I don't think it will be, but I'm always wary of guys, especially because, Paris Campbell's a couple major injuries he's had. Is like, do you want another guy who's had some, I know Paris Campbell out of college didn't have any, injury questions, but, Pickens does. So do you want to potentially take that risk at all? I mean, you always have a risk, right? With any guy.
I mean, it took Paris Campbell, who was squeaky clean, and it
Right.
happened. So, there's always that risk.
True. But as a player, yeah, I mean, I like Pickens quite a bit.
All right. Well, with number 73 in the third round, I have the Colts selecting Abraham Lucas, tackle from Washington State. Now, I actually had him as my second round pick in my first mock draft. Now, from after looking at it a little bit further, I think he's actually going to drop a little bit from just the simple fact that he was more of a right tackle in college. So, all things considered, I think the biggest question mark when it comes to Abraham Lucas is, will he be able to adjust from a right tackle to a left tackle perspective? But I think the great thing with this concern is that you have a guy like Matt Pryor who is, almost in the same boat. They'd be learning alongside each other at the same time and getting used to it. But, Matt Pryor being your primary left tackle to start could be a good thing for Abraham Lucas if he wasn't going to start right away. But Abraham Lucas, who's almost 6'7", 320 pounds, this guy is big, but he's also athletic. The guy ran under 5 seconds at the combine, ran a 4.9 in the 40 time, had over a 10-foot broad jump. This guy has explosive power. He's widely regarded for his athletic ability to be able to get up to the second level of the defense and make blocks. He's a great run blocker. He actually shows a lot more tenacity in run blocking than he does in pass blocking. Pass blocking, he's got good technique, not overall very strong, but again, has good technique, but is a guy that definitely could get better with that. He's much better in a power blocking scheme, which is exactly what the Colts do with Jonathan Taylor. That's their motto, is power blocking. So, I think that Abraham Lucas, even if he didn't start for you right away, could be a guy that if you molded and he went to that left tackle spot, he could actually fit really well in this scheme and the way that they like to form their offensive linemen.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I like just taking a guy that doesn't have to start right away, right? I like that idea of getting a guy that physically he's got everything you're looking for in your future left tackle, and not throwing him right into the fire, and, you mentioned Matt Pryor. I mean, they're going to be kind of learning together, right? How to play left tackle. So yeah, I mean, I think I like that. He's going to get the chance to compete for that left tackle spot. I do think Matt Pryor will probably end up taking it. And that's probably a good thing, but just to have another offensive lineman, right? Because we all know how important depth is in this league. And especially it seems like at tackle, it's so much harder to find depth than it is at guard in the interior, right?
Yes.
I mean, how many times have the Colts found guys for literally nothing? Like they found Mark Glowinski for nothing, right? They claimed off of waivers. They found a Chris Reed for insanely cheap last year. And I'm sad that they didn't bring back one of those players, but that's a different story, different topic for a different time. But yeah, I think overall you gotta make that move to try to get your tackle soon, right? Because I think odds are, Derek, next year you're going to probably make the move up for a quarterback, right? And that might involve, if that conditional third goes to a second, trading both those picks to get up there. So you may not have really any luxury in getting a guy in the second round next year for tackle. So with how good this tackle class is, I like getting him here in that third round. Kind of similar to wide receiver. It's a good class and it's a deep class. So, I mean, this guy may, in any other draft, he might go in the second round. He might go sneak into the late first. But getting him here in the third round and physically getting exactly what you're looking for, I really like that move.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now for the fourth round pick that we have, I think is at 123. I have the Colts selecting Jelani Woods, tight end out of Virginia. Now, there are question marks to whether or not Jelani Woods will even make it to this point, because I honestly think that if the tight end group starts going any faster, he might actually get picked prior to this, because Jelani Woods, 6'7", 260 pounds, is a good size, almost same size as, a Mo Ali Cox. has 34-inch arms. Ironically enough, has 9 1/4-inch hands.
Dang.
So it's really small compared to the rest of his body frame, which is crazy. But ran a 4.61 at the combine. 4.61 at 260 pounds and at 6'7". I mean, he's not only big, but he's fast. And what he has been shown is, he's a great run blocker. He's a guy that definitely is not afraid to be physical when he needs to be. And that's something that the Colts really pride themselves on, and having in their tight ends is a guy that can not only catch, but a guy that can run block as well. Ironically enough, Cody, Jelani Woods started out as a quarterback coming into college, was a quarterback, but then grew a lot of that weight and then was able to, transition into becoming more of a tight end hybrid. Didn't play a whole lot in his first few years. He was rated as a top 25 quarterback prospect coming out of high school, and, went on to Oklahoma State, but then he redshirted. He didn't get enough playing time. And then he went on to Virginia. And then his 1 year of Virginia, he got a first team all ACC honors, got 44 receptions for 600 yards and 8 touchdowns in 11 games. So, in his 1 year of playing with Virginia and getting into that role, I mean, he pretty much took over. He went from this guy that we didn't know much about to now all of a sudden he is now one of the highest recruited tight ends in the group just because of his size and his production. So I think, I don't know what the Colts are going to do with the tight end group now. Obviously, all the great tight ends that we wanted in free agency are gone. You couldn't get any because you didn't have a quarterback at that time. But Jelani Woods, if you're going to look to get a guy at tight end in the draft, and if you're going 4th round, I think Jelani Woods the guy to do it.
Man, I didn't realize he was a former quarterback.
Yeah.
I always love that, from a skill, going from a quarterback to skill positions, because that means they can read a defense a little bit better than maybe the traditional tight end or wide receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they know, I just feel like that gives them such an advantage versus other guys. So, yeah, I mean, he's physically everything you're looking for. And, yeah, I like this pick. Just getting another tight end. I'm assuming with his size, he's probably pretty good at run blocking as well. So, yeah, just getting another physical guy in there, that alone right there. I mean, you already kind of got your receiving tight end in Kylan Granson. I don't know, again, how well he does in terms of receiving. I would assume that's probably something he needs to improve on. That's probably, without just looking, without having kind of his stuff in front of me, that just kind of seems like, that's kind of what Mo had to work on when he came in, was just developing more as a receiver. Is that kind of where he's at?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. You hit it on the head.
Okay. That's what I assumed, but I hadn't really looked at this guy a whole lot, but yeah. And now you've addressed, 3 of the biggest positions you had to address, this so far, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and you gave Matt Ryan, ultimately you gave Matt Ryan more weapons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's important.
Yep. All right. With the next pick, I have the Colts selecting Montaric Brown, cornerback out of Arkansas. So this one was interesting because Montaric Brown, his pedigree that he came out of high school with was definitely insane. I mean, this dude's 6 foot, 190 pounds. So he's not a small corner. He's a former 4-star recruit out of Arkansas, was actually the number 1 player in the state of Arkansas when he was coming out of high school and went to the Razorbacks. And he's a guy that, has helped, go to a lot of big games for Arkansas and has helped them win a lot of big games, has over 30 starts in his career. So this is a guy that, has a lot of that experience. He was basically a redshirt senior too. So he's been in there for a while. He's going to be a year older than some of these other guys too. So, but nevertheless had 5 interceptions in 2021. So, a guy that definitely can get some turnovers. He's more of a boundary corner. That's kind of his role. Scheme fit, you would like to see him mainly in a zone scheme, but he can play a man-to-man if you choose to make him do that. because, he's very comfortable with it. Overall, I wouldn't necessarily say there's anything that he does great. I don't think that there's anything that this guy excels over anyone else in the competition. But I think what he does is he does everything good. That's what it is. There's not a lot of flaws in his game. He's a good tackler. He's good at recognizing defenses. He's good at getting off blocks. He's got great effort. He chases ball carriers down. He's just comfortable where he is. So you feel comfortable saying that for a guy in the fourth round, you have somebody like this that can play in multiple schemes, is not the biggest corner in the world, but he's not undersized by any stretch. Just a guy that you feel you can work on one or two areas of his game to then translate to become great at the NFL level.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now you've addressed, really, in my opinion, all your positions of need. Yeah, I like it for that. How big was he again?
6 foot, 190 pounds.
All right. So he's about that mold,
Yeah, normally Ballard likes to have his guys over 6 foot and, some of the guys that are around that 200-pound range, some of the bigger corners, but, he fits that mold pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next pick, and we're sticking with the secondary again, and it's going to be Tariq Carpenter, a safety out of Georgia Tech. Now, Tariq Carpenter is 6'2", 188 pounds. So, I mean, amazingly enough, he's big enough that, you could fit him into a hybrid role to play a little bit of that outside linebacker kind of role because, again, the weight's not one of those things, but he's 6'2". I mean, he's got really good size on him. And, he tackles really, really well. He's a sound tackler, which is great because that's exactly what the Colts want out of their safeties. They want a guy who is able to make tackles and is really aggressive in doing that. He is not a guy that you really want playing deep. He's more of a guy that you want up front. You want somebody that it plays a lot like a Kahari Willis does, where he is able to come up and make plays, not go back and make plays. He's not a ball hawking safety. He's more of a guy that you want to be able to say everything in front of you, that's what we need you to cover. And again, for depth purposes, obviously that's something you can work on for going deeper into man coverage and deep zone coverages. But again, I like the fact that they go out of their way to mention how, he is that safety linebacker hybrid role. It's a guy that can play special teams for you. He fits in any scheme that you want him to, and he's a great tackler. I think that's something that they could use.
And they tried to do that last year with that Sean Davis pick, if you remember that.
Yes.
That didn't end up panning out. But it's obvious that they want somebody like that, that third safety to be kind of that, downhill type of guy that can come up and can play a little bit of hybrid for you and things like that. And they haven't really had that, Andrew Sendejo, I guess, kind of played that last year for you a little bit. But I mean, he's not coming back. He's, mid-30s at this point. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that they're just trying to get some safety depth because right now they don't have any depth at all. Just getting another guy in there that's an enforcer, could really come downhill and can help stop the run. I mean, the Colts, they significantly got worse last year at stopping the run. I mean, we all noticed it. I don't know what it was, but they weren't the same as they typically have been right in the past. So I'm thinking they're wanting to definitely improve that this year over last year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. So with the next pick, I have the Colts selecting Tyquan Thornton, wide receiver out of Baylor. Now, a lot of people know Tyquan Thornton from the combine. He ran the second fastest 40 time in the combine this year, and it actually ranks him as the fifth fastest 40 time in the history of the NFL combine. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, why is it that he's so low when this guy obviously is insanely fast? Well, I mean, again, he's a senior. He's 6'2.5", 180 pounds. So this guy's kind of a string bean, believe it or not. It seems like more of a track star than what he would be a football player. The length and wingspan's nothing crazy. The hands barely over 8 inches I mean, this guy has very, very small hands. I think just what sets him so far down is it's just the fact that the limitations of his physicality is what's going to affect him. Had a few small injury concerns coming out of Baylor. It's like the problem was that when he was assigned to be a vertical guy, I mean, this guy, nobody could guard him. I mean, he's going to outrun any corner that you put on him. It's just not going to happen. But the ultimate problem is that's all he is at the moment. He's basically a vertical guy. That's all you get from him at the moment because he's not a great route runner. He's not physical enough to get after some of these corners, so if you can get him just on a straightaway and where corners are playing off coverage, that's where you want to get him at. But that's all he's really limited to at this moment. Now you feel that, again, with that ability to make people go be that vertical threat, you would think with some years of practice, maybe you can get this guy to get a few routes in his repertoire and get him maybe bulked up a little bit more upper body wise to help him fight off some of those corners. You certainly would hope so. Just right now, he's just the ultimate vertical threat.
I think that's, that screams Ballard from the standpoint that he just likes to get guys that have elite traits, right? And this guy has elite speed. And, he's what round is this? 5th, 6th round? It's a later round pick. So, I mean, how many years in a row has Ballard got a guy in these later rounds? But, physically, he's got something there, and if you can just hone in all the other things, I mean, you can't teach speed. Let's just be honest. You just can't teach it.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach the other things. You can get him bulked up. You can teach him to run routes. You can teach him to do these things. But the Colts really don't have a burner right now, right? They don't have a guy that you just say, just run straight and outrun everybody. They don't. They don't have a guy like that. So I like that from to get a guy like that that just sometimes you just need to air it out like that, keep a defense honest. So yeah, absolutely. I would like him for that, and it's, if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out, but at least you've got a guy that can do that.
Exactly. Last pick of this mock draft, and that is Ben Brown, is an interior offensive lineman out of Ole Miss. 6'5", 312 pounds, 34.5-inch arms, 10.25-inch hands. He's basically just supposed to be assigned as a backup or a special teamer. He's not somebody that's, going to pop off the screen right away because he just doesn't have a lot of that power and pop that you would need to start out right away. But this is a guy that is flexible, has played in, I think they said that he's played in pretty much every position on the Ole Miss offensive line at one point in his career. This dude's a 4-year starter. So this guy has played, everywhere on their line. He's more of an interior guy, obviously, because of his size. But again, just having a guy, we just got a guy 2 years ago. Everybody remembers Danny Pinter, slightly undersized, but a guy that's position flexible. He's athletic. You can get a guy like that. You think that maybe with some molding, you would be able to help mold a guy into a role like that. So, and we know the Colts are looking for interior offensive line depth at this point. So see if this guy could potentially fit the roster at any point.
Yeah. All the depth you can get right now.
All right. What do you think of mock draft 2.0, Cody?
I like it a little bit better than your mock draft 1.0, if I'm being honest.
Well, good. That's how it's supposed to be. I'm glad you're not picking up the torch and just ready to burn my mock draft alive.
I'll save that for the comments.
Okay, sounds good.
No, I think you addressed every position that you really need. Maybe the only position that would be left would be, maybe free safety, potentially. Back up to Julian Blackmon.
Yeah.
But again, there's probably still some positions that you're gonna address, down the road in free agency, maybe before the draft. There's been some guys
or even
that
after
have been linked to, right? Yeah, or even after. So, I like the first 3 picks from a position standpoint. I think those are exactly what you need right now. You just need to get Matt Ryan weapons, and you need to protect him,
Mhm.
and I think that's what you got to do. And I liked that you basically just didn't touch the defense till round 4, I believe it was.
Mhm.
And I think that's how it should be. Round 4, round 5, you didn't touch the defense because, I mean, outside of a corner and safety depth, there really isn't a whole lot that you really need to add right now.
Yeah, and I mean, we've kind of seen, Ballard and some of his mid to late picks, start to hit on some of those defensive guys late. I mean, we saw Isaiah Rodgers. We've seen some of these other guys, Julian Blackmon and a few others. I trust Ballard a little more I trust Ballard more to get defensive guys in the late rounds than I do in the early rounds. I mean, I think every Colts fan feels that way at this point. So
well, I'm just glad we're not taking a pass rusher for the 100th straight year.
Yeah, right. Jesus, yeah. I think I think we're good for a couple years on the pass rush department.
Hopefully the next 5 to 10. Next to 5 to 10 would be nice.
Yeah, please.
I mean, ideally, you've got your 2 studs for the next, number of years. You think you're going to probably extend Yannick and obviously Quiddy if he takes the next step, which we all think he will. And heck, Dayo Odangbo goes and takes the next step.
Exactly. So
there you go.
And then you got all your defensive tackle depth that you have right now. You don't need to worry about that. I mean,
nope.
It comes down to it. We all know Ballard should be drafting offensive weapons in the second round. Does a really good job at that. Should refrain from ever picking a defensive player before the third round.
Well,
it seems to be the mold. It always works, does it not?
To be fair, he found Darius Leonard.
They found Darius Leonard in the second round. I get that. Yeah, you're right. I guess I should be more specific. Should never take an edge rusher before the second round unless he's drafted in the first round. So
right. Please,
second round, do not draft defensive players unless it's a linebacker, because obviously he's got some potential with that one.
He can draft linebackers, dude. He can draft liembckers. He can draft. I mean, a lot of people remember when people said he couldn't draft DBs, and now look at what he's done.
Yeah, that was his first year. He missed with with Quincy Wilson, and then obviously everyone had their doubts about Rock Yassin for a while until he started being good. So,
and even like Isaiah Rodgers, nobody expected him to just jump off the page like he has,
And Corey Willis too. I mean, Corey Willis was a 4th rounder, and look at him now,
3rd rounder, and and like, oh my goodness,
it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, like how many guys that are on our defense that are not 1st rounders. A lot of them are 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders, even 6th rounders. I mean, it's crazy to think about.
That's why, like, as a Colts fan, when I saw we got a couple more compensatory picks in like the 5th and 6th rounds and stuff, I was ecstatic. So I'm like, all right,
we can finally add some more secondary depth. See if Ballard hits on a few of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Why not?
But cool, man. Yeah, I think it was a good mock draft 2.0. I'll have to come out with mine here pretty soon as well.
Yep.
And it's crazy, man. We're recording this April 3rd. The NFL draft is not that far away. Not at all.
5 days, baby.
That's crazy, man. I cannot believe.
I know. I can't wait. It needs to be here so fast. The end of the month needs to get here so quick.
I am actually like good with it, like taking its time, because after this, what the heck are we going to talk about for 3 months?
I know. We'll find something. But
we always do.
Yeah, I get you. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think of my mock draft 2.0. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys again so much. And as always, go Colts.